You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Ruff.
And I'm Aviva Nebeski.
We're the hosts of the Dressage Today podcast, where you can find us talking about anything and everything dressage related. Our conversations span the world of dressage, from leading riders to local level dressage heroes. We're talking training advice, showing tips, and sharing stories to inspire your own dressage journey. So tune in, then tack up. Welcome to the Dressage Today podcast, sponsored by Purina. We are very excited today to talk to one of the U.S.'s up-and-coming international riders, Anna Marek. Anna earned team gold and individual bronze at the 2023 Pan Am Games with Firefly, and was most recently the highest placing American at the FEI Dressage World Cup final with Fayvel. And then, even more exciting, she was just named to the short list with Firefly for a chance to compete for the United States at the Paris Olympics.
How exciting is this?
I know. Lots going on with her, huh? We are lucky that she squeezed us in.
I don't know when she has the time, but
I don't either.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah. So that will be exciting. And, but before that, to open, we're just going to talk about how horses will send you into crazy fits and do everything they can to kill themselves and, make your life hard. But we love them so much that we just keep doing it, and we are certifiably crazy sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The journey is, when you hear about somebody like Anna, who is fortunate enough to have, fabulous horses that stay sound and that are peaking at the right time. And there's just, there's so much talent in the riding, but there's also so much luck involved in this sport.
There is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
you're right. Timing is, it's a journey. Timing is everything. And there is a lot of skill involved, but there is also some luck. And you and I have not had good luck recently. We are absorbing bad luck for people.
Yeah, we are trying to take everybody else's bad luck, and Stephanie and I are just taking it on ourselves so that we don't have to deal with it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So you've had bad luck with both of your horses.
I have. So, we talked in an earlier podcast about the struggles with Nadia's eye and how she eventually lost it. Now, on the upside, she is coming back really well. She's doing very well. I'm riding her. She lost, of course, all of her fitness. So she's kind of on the comeback trail, but she's been doing great. She isn't spooky. She has adapted quite well. Good. And I'm very pleased. So that's the positive. That's the upside. The downside is now that I'm having challenges with Lily, and she is currently undergoing treatment for EPM. But hopefully we feel like it's very mild. It was caught very quickly. So fingers crossed that treating her will, get her back going in the right direction. But in case I have found that anytime you have just a little bit of money that you're like, oh, I can start saving money, or, oh, I can go do this thing that I've been, putting off for a long time. No. A horse will require multiple vet bills and hundreds or thousands of dollars that will take away your savings or whatever you were planning to do. There goes that trip or whatever. Yep. So yes, that's where I'm at.
I'm so sorry. Well, I know I speak for all of our listeners that we're very pleased that Nadia is doing so well. And the nice thing about rehab with something like this is that it is just fitness. She hasn't forgotten any of her training. It's just getting her strong again.
Exactly. Yeah. She really hasn't, because I've played with some things just mostly in the walk and stuff, and it's all there. It's just she's not as strong or supple or anything like that. But she knows her skills, and she just is she's a little out of shape like me.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's amazing. It's amazing how quickly we get out of shape too. We're always really worried about our horse's fitness, but we forget about our own. And I've had a really rough 8 months. I've lost 3 of my horses, a dog, a cat, and my mom died last weekend. And emotionally, I'm a mess, and I'm just sort of, hanging on by my fingernails. So I haven't been riding nearly as much as I used to. And boy, I get on Tiger these days, and he's fitter than I am, and it's rough riding an FEI horse who's stronger than you are.
Oh, I bet it is. Yeah. It's a little different than me riding Nadia and just kind of putzing around because she's putzing, I'm putzing. We're both putzing kind of at the same level. But no, if you, that would definitely be more challenging.
Yeah. Well, we old folks, we lose it fast.
Yeah. Yes.
Unfortunately, our horses get fitter faster than we do, I think.
Yeah. And it takes us longer to get to recover and to get back into shape too. So
Absolutely.
So aren't we just the happy bunch today?
Oh, yes. Yes, we are. Well, as I said, we're trying to take everybody else's bad luck.
That's right.
So that everybody else can be a little bit more successful. So
exactly.
Everybody out there listening, say thanks to us because we're taking your bad luck for you.
And if you're one of us that's also having bad luck, we're sorry. And we're sure this will eventually end.
Yeah.
And it'll be our turn to have some good luck.
Well, the journey with horses is truly a journey. And we do it for the love of the horses. And I know, the thing that's been keeping me going during the last, few months is every morning I get up and I go down to the barn and my horses are there.
Yeah.
And, they're there and they love me and it feels good. And I know that, that sound of them chewing and the wicker when I walk in the barn. And I may not be riding much, but the horses are still there providing the support. So that's why we do it.
It is. It is totally. So it's, so hopefully next month we'll all have more good news to report.
Sounds good. But in the meantime, I understand we have quite an interesting Ask the L question today.
Well, we do. And we've gotten several different versions kind of the same sort of question. So we have basically combined it into one question or one generalization. And it's something you have touched on before. But since people are still
either geometry or accuracy
or a little bit of both, I was going to say, since it's coming around again and in multiple forms, we probably should touch on it again because it is one of those regular things. But and it's basically it's about where do you make transitions? For example, when I halt at X, what should be at X? The horse's head, the horse's shoulder, the rider, or something like when you are halting or making any change in gait at any letter.
Okay.
Where do you do that? Do you want your leg or the center of the horse to cross the letter? Or is it when your horse's nose gets to the letter? That kind of thing. So it is a bit of geometry and a bit of accuracy, and all wrapped up into one.
Okay, actually, I judged a lot this past weekend, and I felt at one point I looked over at one of my scribes and I said, "I am in fact the geometry Nazi," because it just matters so much,
right?
So, I think. Everything depends on the level at which you're competing. At the FEI level, if the transition is at a letter, it's basically when the rider hits that letter so that it's clean and it's beautiful and you can see it. So if you halt at C, the rider's leg is at C, right? And the judge sees the rider sitting at C. If you're riding training level, it's anywhere from, the horse's nose to the horse's butt, right? Because that's about as accurate as you can get. Because at training level, all of your transitions for the most part are between. So we don't expect you to be able to line up exactly with the letter. But you want your horse's body to be on that letter, some part of your horse's body to be on that letter. Now, having said that, that's for transitions. When you're talking about making figures, that's a whole different ballgame. I judged 60 intro tests.
Wow.
On Sunday. And the thing that kept striking me over and over and over again was how to make circles. And when you make a circle at A or at C, you don't go into corners. Right? And if you're in a small ring, if you make a 20-meter circle at A and at C, your circle crosses the center line between E and B. It's a 20-meter circle. And I didn't see a lot of that.
Yeah.
When your circle is at E or at B, your circle needs to be centered around X. There's some weird thing. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter which direction people come at from E or B. The circles are always closer to the A end of the arena than the C end of the arena. So in terms of where you do things, transitions, you have a little bit of flexibility at the lower levels. And as you move up the levels, we want to see things look more like where the rider is. Mm-hmm. But for figures, the figure needs to be the correct figure and be in the right place. So if you're going across a diagonal and the diagonal is, FXH, you have to come out of the corner and start across the diagonal at F. And you need to hit the other end of the diagonal at H. And in this case, we're talking about head, neck, shoulders. You can't just whip through the corner and miss the letter completely.
Yeah.
But you also can't go so far past the letter that you're now almost closer, to P or to, B, whichever letter happens to be there, depending on the size of your arena. So accuracy matters. Where you do things matters. With transitions with the halt, your horse needs to be somewhere around X. Would I like to see, if I'm sitting at E or at B, that your horse is exactly at X, that your leg is standing on X? Sure. Right. But at intro, if your horse's nose is at X or your horse's tail is at X, that's kind of close enough. At second level, I would like to see somewhere between your horse's front leg and your horse's hind leg.
Yeah.
So, again, as you move up the levels, what we expect becomes more intense. But accuracy always matters. And there's no way around accuracy at any level. There's just no way around accuracy at any level. So it's a good question. And, the accuracy police, the geometry police has spoken. And, strive to be perfect. That's the other thing is that, yes, at training level, you can halt at X somewhere between your horse's nose and your horse's tail, but strive to halt so that your body is at X.
Right.
Because we all want to be better. We all want to move up. Ride as if you're going to ride Grand Prix, even if you're never planning on riding Grand Prix. But train as if you're going to Grand Prix, because the more you expect of yourself, the better you will be.
Yeah. No, that's very true, to kind of hold yourself to a standard, but, to a higher standard anyway. Yeah. Okay. So everybody out there, listen to that advice.
Accuracy.
Accuracy
Geometry.
matters. Yeah.
Yes.
And if anyone else has any questions that they would like to pose to Aviva, please drop us an email or reach out to us on social media. And then after this, we will have our conversation with Anna Marek. At Purina Animal Nutrition, we are focused on helping horses live their best lives. For wholesome nutrition that performs, try Purina Omeline Horse Feed. Formulated with Outlast Gastric Support Supplement to support gastric health and proper pH, it keeps your horse performing with confidence. Put our research to the test. Stop by your local Purina retailer or visit purinamills.com to learn more. Anna Marek began showing and training dressage horses in 2001, and she currently is based in Dunellen, Florida, which is close to Ocala. With her Grand Prix horse, Unico, Anna rose to number 12 nationwide in the U.S. during 2016. Then just last year, she made a statement on the international stage with a team gold and individual bronze with Firefly at the Pan American Games in Chile. Last month, she finished 9th, the highest finish for a U.S. rider, with a second Grand Prix horse, Fayvel, at the FEI Dressage World Cup final in Saudi Arabia. And then just last week, when we are recording this, she and Firefly were named to the shortlist for the horse and rider combinations traveling to Europe with hopes of making the Olympic team. Anna loves animals and strives to make the most ethical choices possible. These two qualities, along with incredible talent, have earned her a reputation as a fierce, rising competitor in the dressage arena and as a successful, kind trainer. Anna, we want to thank you for taking some time out of all of your crazy preparations to join us today on the Dressage Today podcast.
Well, I feel so honored that you asked me to speak. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, we have so many things to congratulate you about. And number one is the most recent, and that was being selected to the short team to go to Europe for a chance at the Olympic team. So where were you when you found out, or how did you find out, and were you surprised, or tell us a little about that?
Well, this is actually a pretty funny story because they told us that we would find out by May 8th, on or before May 8th. Now, when I was selected for the teams for Pan Am, I specifically remember that it was a couple days before that date that Laura called me. And so, the couple days before May 8th, I was kind of like, looking at my phone and waiting for a call and, hoping and wondering. And then by the time it I think May 8th was a Wednesday and it was on Tuesday. I was like, well, maybe I'm not on it. And so I was just like, but I always kind of thought to myself, either way, I looked at this being my big goal, that I really wanted to make the short list and go to Europe, because having my family and having a farm and clients here, it's hard for me to get away, but also that I like to be home. I like to be with my babies. And so either way, how this was going to happen was going to be okay with me. But I was like, this would be a big opportunity for me to be able to go to Europe and have that experience. And not only that, but with one of my favorite horses that I've ever had in my life. And so on Tuesday, I got a message from somebody congratulating me on making the squad for Paris. And I looked at this message, and it was. I'm not going to say who it is, but it was to me and Anne. And I was like, I texted Laura, and I was like, "Could I give you a call real quick?" And she was like, "Sure." And so I called her and I told her, and then she was like, "Well, congratulations." And so I was like, I got this message, but I'd really rather hear it from you, because she's the team leader, the organizer.
Right.
And so she was like, she kind of joked with me for a second, and then she was like, congratulations, and da-da-da. And so, I talked with her, chatted with her a little bit, and then I hung up and I called Firefly's owner. And then I was like, okay, I gotta go tell my husband, and then I gotta go tell everybody else. And, so yeah, it was a really happy afternoon. I was like, okay, well, this is actually happening. We're going.
So how did the other person find out before you did, or does that reveal who they are?
I don't know. I'm not sure if like kind of going down the ranking list, same thing as what I thought. I was like, I would have been surprised. I don't even really want to say it like that. Like, I was very hopeful. I was, thinking I was going. So many people were like, oh, you're, of course you're going to be selected and blah, blah. But again, like, I never really wanted to think that anything was a guarantee.
Sure.
And maybe that was just kind of like protecting myself in case it didn't happen. But I know. So I really don't know. I don't know if it was that they just figured, since looking at the ranking list, I think not long before that, the final ranking list came out after that last show. So, and they take up to 8 people and, and so Firefly was pretty high up on the list still,
Yeah.
So we are recording this Tuesday afternoon, May 14th. So what is next on your schedule? When do you leave, and are you in crazy planning mode now?
Yes, very much. Firefly actually leaves my house in very early Sunday morning, and then he flies Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
And then I leave on Tuesday.
Oh,
so a week from today.
So only a week. Wow.
Yep.
I'm sure you have everything all together.
It's like I said, it's just like it's not been a quick turnaround that I found out that I'm going to, then putting all the plans in motion to go, because we have to submit our, kind of our plan for when we're in Europe, which shows we're going to do and stuff like that. And then like, it really goes pretty quick.
I'm sure it does.
What are you most looking forward to in Europe? To the showing, or to being with other people, or just the whole experience? Or
I would say it's the showing and the having the time to spend really focusing on Firefly and Fayvel, because when I'm at home and riding so many horses and teaching lessons and working, and what I really loved about Chile that all of the people that know me thought I would struggle with was that I was there for so long with one horse to ride. And where people thought that would be hard for me, I actually thought that it was the greatest thing of that trip, because it gave me 3 weeks to just focus and spend time with Firefly.
Yeah.
And and in my spare moments, I'd watch my videos, and I'd talk to my coaches, and it's just like that really helped me come closer to him and ride him better. And so I'm looking forward to that same experience in Europe, just being able to focus on Firefly and spend the time with him, and then gain that experience showing in Europe, because, I've shown in Wellington since I was young, youngish. And so then the biggest things that I've done were go to Pan Am's and then after that World Cup. But I haven't had experience with seeing, Isabel warm up at a show, or, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. That's what I'm really excited about, is not just watching their videos online or on YouTube, but being able to watch them warm up and really try to learn.
So is there anything that you're anxious about? Are you anxious about riding in all those warm-ups?
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I tried to just really focus my energy on Firefly and what I need to do with him. It's like I can't control. I want to watch them to learn, but I tried a while ago to get that out of my head about getting nervous watching, the big dogs warm up and show, comparing them to myself. Like I have to focus on myself and my horse and making what we do better, and showing him to the best of my ability.
Tell us a little bit about Firefly. What kind of a horse is he?
He's 14 years old. He's Dutch warmblood. I started riding him almost 3 years ago. This summer, it'll be 3 years. And his owner called me, he'd already shown Grand Prix, and his owner called me asking if I would take him in training. And I said, I'd seen him around at the shows because he was with a trainer not very far from here. And I said to her, I was like, you know that I'm pregnant, right? And she was like, oh yeah, but you'll be off a couple months and it'll be fine. And if you're still riding right now, she was like, he's really safe. Like, he's a good boy. So I was like, wow, that's really nice of her, because of course, being a new mom, or when I had my first child, I was worried that would change things for, people either want to have horses in training with me, or, I had this feeling like that I would miss out, or that I wouldn't get to do what I was, what I could do if I hadn't had the kids. And with May, I realized it's all going to be there when I get back. And so I was like, man, it's awesome to have an owner that is like, oh, no big deal. Like, you're going to have the baby and then you'll be back riding. It's fine. And so I took him, and he was one of the last horses that I rode while I was pregnant with May. And when she brought him to me, he was nervous about a lot of things. Like, he's a very nervous type of horse, but not really that he's spooky, but he's spooky if he gets nervous from the rider, if that makes sense. Like, he's always kind of a horse that I'm riding the brake, and he's always a horse that if he thinks he's doing it wrong, then he gets very scared.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so at the beginning of our relationship, he was really scared of the Piaffe. And I said to his owner, I was like, I said, I know he's shown Grand Prix. I said, but in order for us to get him confident at this, I was like, only he's going to tell us when he's ready to do it like a big boy and go back into Grand Prix and take that pressure. And so I just I warned her. I said, I've seen what happens when the Piaffe is over pressured. And I was like, it's going to take as long as it's going to take. Mm-hmm. And she was, again, very understanding about that. And she was like, nope, you just do what you're going to do. And she was, I'd even say, come out and watch me ride. And she said, no, I trust you. Like, okay, if it works out, that's fine. But like, literally just gave him to me and was like, you treat him like he's your own and you take your time with him. And it was the best thing, because as soon as we kind of like got a relationship and hit our stride, he just flew along. And by the end of that season, like, I started out only showing an I2 at WEC, I think in January. I had May and November, and then in January I showed him in an I2, because I said to her, I was like, I want to be able to keep the Piaffes really forward, and I want to have less ones. And he was great. So then I took him to a little show, and I showed a Grand Prix where same thing. I was like, I don't care what I get for the Piaffe scores. I'm going to ride them really forward so that he's not scared. And then he was good. And then slowly over time, I just kind of started to ask for a little bit more. And if he'd tell me it was too much, I backed off. And then I'd kind of chip away at it again and ask for a little bit more as he trusted me. And then by the end of that season, Anne was like, let's try a CDI. And so we did a CDI, I think the last CDI in Wellington at the end of that season. And then the following year, every single show kept getting better and better and better. And then we qualified and went to Pan Am's. Wow. And we didn't really have any plans of that at the beginning of the year. It's just like he kept getting better. And then Charlotte Bradal said, she was like, you need to apply this horse for Pan Am's. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, you really should. And so then we did. And it was awesome. It was amazing. He's just really been an amazing horse for me, because he's taught me a lot, and I appreciate him so much,
Yeah. Well, and at the Pan Am's, you won team gold, and you also won the individual bronze. So you mentioned what it was like, kind of focusing 3 weeks just on being able to ride one horse. But how was it to win a team medal and an individual medal, and just all, kind of the entire environment surrounding that trip?
That trip, it was awesome, because I went into the Pan Am's, and Anne always kind of drilled into me before even any team stuff came up. She was like, when you are at a team event, the most important thing is to put in a good, solid Grand Prix. And when I was at one of the observation events, like to pick the team, it was for most of the other teammates, I think they did theirs in Europe, and there were no CDIs in the summer. So I went to Lamplight. And when I went to Lamplight, like, you know, I didn't really have any clean rides, and I didn't ride my best. And I came off of that show, and my dad, who's a sportsman, but like, and is so into horses because I do what I do, and watches, and he's just like, you know, he just has common sense, and he watches a lot, and he watches other riders too. And he said to me, he goes, you know, Anna, you need to ride that test enough that you're surprised if you make a mistake. And
that's
it's
profound.
So funny.
Yeah,
I know, because that really sat with me. And so his owner said after Lamplight, she goes, you know what? I think that you should go to WEC in 2 weeks. She's like, I know he's traveled, you know, a long distance. She's like, but WEC is in your backyard, and I think it would be a good confidence builder for the two of you. So in those couple weeks, I rode the test 3 times at home, just by myself, and had it videoed so that I could go sit there and watch it. And then the next show, I rode 2 clean tests. And so then that was leading up to, then I found out I was on the team and going to Chile. And I was really focusing on my precision, the details, and riding a clean test. And I didn't really let anything else get into my mind other than that. And then, by golly, we went into the Grand Prix and we rode a clean test. And so I said to Anne, I was like, you know, my big goal was to ride a clean test, to add to the score for the team. You know what I mean? And really prove that we belong there, and that we could do this, and we could handle the pressure and all of that. And we did have a mistake in the special, but that was so funny because I made a mistake, and I was thinking to myself, well, you got nothing to lose now, so you better ride your butt off. and so I ended up getting the same score in the special as I did the Grand Prix because I rode better.
little last minute motivation there.
Exactly. And it really was. I was just like, I basically shrugged, and I was like, well, you got nothing to lose now. You better go for it. And then that was funny with the special. And then with the individual, which was the freestyle, I was last to go. And the coolest thing about that, and I will look back on it as one of the best feelings in my entire life, was because it was so unexpected. It was completely unexpected. I did not expect to get an individual medal. And so I was relaxed, and I was like, this is the fun part. I made it to the freestyle. Like, we're going to go show off our freestyle. And Julio is a really good friend of mine, and he is going before me, or like the third to last to go. And we heard his score announced, and I was like, I can beat him, Ann. And like we were laughing back and forth. And she was like, okay, Anna, you go in and beat Julio. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so then I went in and I rode my test, and he was wonderful. And so then, we're standing at bit check, and it comes up on the board, and I didn't even see my score. I just saw the number 3, and I freaked out and screamed and spooked Firefly. And my groom was like, just get off. It was so funny. It was such a happy time. It was like, I'll never forget that. And all the team was going crazy, and Christian was hugging me, and Julio ran over and hugged me. It was so cool.
Well, then just a couple of weeks ago, or I guess maybe it's been almost a month, maybe not quite a month, you were in Saudi Arabia at the World Cup, and you were our highest finishing rider. And you did that with Fayvel. So you took, your second Grand Prix horse to the World Cup, or, so how was that experience, especially and you were an individual there. I mean, everybody competes as individuals, so you didn't have the team aspect, but how was that experience for you?
That experience was really cool because I said to Anne, having gone to the Pan Ams was a big confidence builder for me, and Fayvel is a little bit of an easier horse than Firefly to ride in terms of his emotions, I guess. He's a really solid citizen, solid competitor. He doesn't have any any baggage or anything like that. He and his owner who his owner had never shown Grand Prix. Like, they did their first Grand Prix together. Like, he's really sweet. He's very honest. So to me, when I get on him and get ready to go into a show, he's very much like, okay, something like what my dad said. I'm surprised if I make a mistake, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, he's a very good boy. He's a very easy, nice horse to ride. And his owner had gotten injured, not on horses, but she hurt her neck. And I had ridden him with her probably half the time. Like, she'd take lessons 5 days a week. I'll warm him up sometimes. Sometimes she rides the whole time. So I knew him very well. But in a little bit of a different way than having a horse like Firefly, where it's all my ride, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know, my horse to show. And yeah, it's a little bit of a different mode. And when Cynthia got hurt, she was like, well, you know, anything that you do with this horse showing him is only going to help me. So I started showing him at some national shows, and he did great. She goes, well, why don't you just try a CDI? And so that fall, I did a CDI, and I put him in the freestyle because Firefly was also at that show, and you can't do two horses in one class, like meaning the special or the freestyle. So Firefly was doing the special, so we entered Fayvel in the freestyle, and I used the freestyle that Cynthia had made for herself, which we created it as a green Grand Prix horse freestyle, meaning it didn't really have any difficulty to it. You know, it was cute music for him and everything, but we did that CDI. He did very well in the Grand Prix, and he did well in the freestyle, even though it wasn't difficult. And his owner said to Anne, she goes, you know, how good is this horse really? Like, you know, could he do something? Like, should Anna show him this year? And it was so funny because Anne all the time, anytime she would see that horse, she was like, that is a really good horse. and then she'd shake her head. She was like, but it's Cynthia's horse. He's perfect for Cynthia. We can't even think about that. You have plenty of horses to ride. We're not going there. And so I was like, okay, fine. Like, I'm not the one. I didn't say anything. Like, but anytime that she'd talk about that horse, she'd be like, it would be great if you could show that. No, you're not showing that horse. That's Cynthia's horse. He's perfect for Cynthia. And so then Cynthia went to Anne and was like, should Anna show this horse? And then Anne was like, well, if it's Cynthia's idea, then yes.
then yes, you should show this horse.
Exactly. So then Anne said to Cynthia and her parents, she was like, well, if we're really going to do this, Anna needs a difficult freestyle. So Cynthia was like, no problem. Like, she got on that right away. And when I talked to Karen Robinson did his freestyle. And when I talked with her, I said, you know, watching the European, you know, freestyles and like the really tricky ones or the fun, like the crazy stuff that Isabel does for freestyle, I was like, this horse is super handy. He could do some difficult things. And so we created this freestyle where its difficulty level comes in at like a 9-9 if I complete everything. Yeah. And it's not hard for him. And so every single time I rode him through the qualifiers, it got better and better and better until the end where he got, I think, a 77 at the last one and a 77 at the second to last one and a 78 at the last one. And easily qualified in 3 shows to go to World Cup. And so then we kind of went back and forth on these discussions. Are we going to go? Are we not? And then when he qualified, we all got really excited about it. And I was like, oh, of course we're going. Because and my husband said the same thing. He was like, this year, you need to not worry about us and you need to do everything that you can with these 2 horses, because who knows when you'd have an opportunity like this and have 2 horses to do all this wonderful, things on. And so then once I heard that from him, I was like, okay, let's go for it. Let's do everything.
Yeah, because you have 2 children. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
How old are they?
5.5 and 2.5.
Oh gosh. So
babies.
Yeah, baby. They really are babies.
They're babies. I know. So that, and I said to Firefly's owner, when people are asking me if I'm excited, and I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. I said, really, the only thing that's really sad for me is leaving them. I love them. I'm so attached to them. I love taking care of them. So that makes me sad. But, they have a great support system here. I have my mom, my dad, my mother-in-law, and my husband, who all, they're all around for the kids, like in daily. You know what I mean? So it's not like their lives or a new person is going to come in because I'm leaving. They're used to their grandparents and my husband,
Well, that's great that you have that as well. That can alleviate a little of the stress for you, I guess.
Yeah.
And they'll get to watch mommy on TV.
Exactly. One of my clients said to me, she was like, she goes, your kids are going to be proud of you one day, and they're going to be happy that you did all this. And you're setting an example for them. And I was like, that made me feel so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were in Chile and in Saudi Arabia, were you able to because those are two very different countries. They're both very different from the United States. Were you able to get out at all and see anything or experience any of the culture that they provide?
Not so much in Chile because the hotel was far from the venue. So we were pretty busy. By the time we got there, doing the horse stuff and then shuttling back to where we were staying, which was amazingly beautiful. The hotel is like right on the water. It was awesome. And then there was a cool town there that we would walk to go to the different restaurants to have dinner. So it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it was a great experience that way. And then in Saudi Arabia, we went out walking around the town a little bit. It was kind of the same thing where we were busy enough that I didn't have too much downtime.
Yeah.
And I get a little bit like when I'm in the show mode, I don't love to be a tourist anyways. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'd rather, this is my opportunity. I can go be by myself or focus or, you know what I mean? But other people did.
Yeah.
Like when we were in Chile and when we were in Saudi Arabia, like there were different things that the people that we were with would go off and do. But everybody in both places, it was very comfortable. They were very welcoming for us.
So you've brought up a lot of horses through the levels. You've trained a lot of horses yourself, not just, having Firefly and Fayvel already at Grand Prix. Can you tell us a little bit about your training and your philosophy and the way that you handle that?
Sure. I love that part of it. I love the training part. I still ride my baby horses after they get started. And, I have two different friends of mine that are breeders. So at my farm, so like how my home life is set up, my husband and I have 20 acres and our own horses and my babies live at home and Firefly. And then I rent a barn not far from us that has a covered arena. So all my clients and everything stay there. But, kind of over the years, I've bought babies and then, if somebody wants to buy them before they're started, I'll sell them, but I'll start them. And then if they get sold, they get sold. And then if not, I continue to train them up. But with the youngsters, and this is the wonderful thing about our sport, is that no matter how much you've done or how old you are, there's always more to learn. Mm-hmm. And so the fun thing for me about bringing up the young horses is that they all teach you different things. And, mainly my philosophy about the training is that dressage is teaching the horses to move away from pressure, and dressage is strengthening and making the horse more balanced and more even. So a lot of the exercises that I do with Firefly, with Fayvel, with Holiday, with my Grand Prix horses, I do the same with my 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. It's just to a different degree. So those horses are feeling like any of the things that the Grand Prix horses are feeling. It's just to a different extent of what you expect or how long you do it for. And in this kind of like thinking like this, in believing that one of my young horses is one day going to be a Grand Prix horse and going to ride with that evenness and ride with that precision and elasticity and suppleness, it takes the pressure off of the babies, because I never want them to feel like they're forced to do anything. Like I want even the Grand Prix horses, if they make a mistake, to be able to laugh it off and go and try it again. Because really, the more pressure that you put on the horses, the worse that it is. The worse that it is, you're not teaching them anything from stress.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we were actually, Aviva and I were talking earlier about precision, and she was talking about precision and accuracy. And even if you're not, she even said, even if you're not going to ride Grand Prix, to imagine that that's where you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it with the youngsters, and how I tell my students too. I'm like, you can be precise. You can expect a straight line. You can expect a good circle. And I'll make fun of my amateur ladies, if they make a bad circle. And I'm like, why are you guys throwing points away there?
Right.
Oh, thank you.
And Carl Hester is saying, like, anybody can do a square halt. You know what I mean? Like anybody, any horse.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the stuff is hard, but all of riding is hard.
Exactly.
And I have a wonderful dear friend who says that our job as riders is to make it easy for the horses to do the things that we want them to do for us.
Yeah, exactly. And the main thing that over time of training a lot of horses that I really put forth, and like as a motivated rider and as a rider who is not scared, then you can make things happen where it's maybe not always the right thing to do for teaching a horse correctly, and taking a little bit longer to teach them where they're thinking and their understanding, as opposed to, I know I can make this horse do a flying change. I can just get it done, but I'm not teaching the horse anything.
Yeah.
So what if I took a little bit longer, and then he really understand, and he do it out of relaxation? Well, that's the point of dressage, is that it's beautiful and that the horses are relaxed and happy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we want
That's
to.
a great way to end, isn't it?
That is a great way to end, as a matter of fact. And so, it was great to chat with you for a few minutes. We want to wish you the very best of luck in getting over there, getting everything settled, and in the competitions. And we're excited to see how everybody does. Of course, we're rooting for everyone. It's hard,
Yeah.
we root for everybody, but I hope you have a great experience over there, and we just appreciate you squeezing us into your schedule.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on and chatting with me. It's it means a lot to me. Thank you.